Eldest daughter syndrome is not an official mental health diagnosis. It's a term coined to describe the unique pressures and responsibilities placed onto the oldest daughter in the family. In short, those of us with EDS are responsible for more domestic labor than our siblings. And here are the 8 signs that you have it. Number 1, you have an intense feeling of responsibility. 2, you are an overachiever, type A, and very driven. 3, you worry a lot and probably have anxiety. 4, you struggle with people-pleasing behaviors. 5, you have a hard time placing and upholding boundaries. 6, you resent your siblings and family. 7, you struggle with feelings of guilt. And 8, you have a difficult time in your adult relationships.
Y'all, let's talk about firstborn syndrome and how being a firstborn can really turn you into like an introvert. Like me personally, my whole life, peace to me was being by myself, not being bothered, my name not being called, nobody coming in my room, just being left alone. And as an adult, it's the same. Like for me, I'm at the most peace, I'm at the most comfort when I am by myself in my house, in my bed. I don't even gotta have the TV on. Like sometimes I just be wanting peace and quiet, and that's literally, honestly, it stems from just growing up in a house full of kids, and it's like you were never alone, and it's a blessing and a curse, but you want to be alone. It's literally the opposite of only child syndrome. Like being the oldest born really makes you value peace and quiet. Like you'll be wanting to be left the hell alone.
Oldest daughter syndrome is when you were the firstborn daughter and you were conditioned to caretake or to please. Here are 4 signs you are this daughter. 1, you have to be a good girl. You have to be polite and repress how you actually feel to make sure everyone around you is comfortable. 2, you abandon your own needs. Your needs were never met or recognized, so you learn that they're not important and feel guilty and shameful for even having them. You might even feel like a burden and not know why. 3, you believe it's your responsibility to make sure that no one is ever upset or disappointed. This is called emotional monitoring. You never learn that adults are capable of disappointment, and it's not your role in life to manage the feelings of other adults. 4, you suppress your anger and rage. You suppress all of those emotions through food, scrolling on social media, drinking, or really anything else that helps you numb those uncomfortable feelings.
I think I've reached a point in my life whereby I wish I was never a firstborn. Growing up as a firstborn in a single parent household is traumatizing. And the worst thing is when your siblings or even other relatives don't understand, what you have to deal with most times. So this year, I've decided I'm not going to kill myself. As a firstborn daughter, I will not kill myself with stress, with other people's stress, because what I've come to realize is everyone is looking out for themselves aside from you. So if you don't look out for yourself, it's over for you. You'll get stressed up, you'll get anxiety, you'll get depression, and it's hard. It's very hard for you to stop supporting people, for you to stop, following up on people, always being on top of things. Because if you position yourself as someone that is always available, people notice it and they will use you and abuse you. That is the unfortunate part. You'll be used and abused, and like already, if you sit with me, I give off the vibe of someone older than my age. I'm 32, but if you sit with me, vitu nakwambia ni za mtu wa 50 years. Vitu nafanya venye niko, like, if you put yourself under so much pressure, under so much stress, you begin to behave older than you are. You begin to look older than you are. And I think that's why I also struggle with dating, because the dating scene is so hard. Like you're caught up with so many things, like you forget there's a side of your life you need to pay attention to. And then what else? And of late, I've also started getting tired of having friends that are childish. Like, I've just realized some of my friends are straight up childish. Like some of them are younger than me, like by 5 years or so. And I'm like, I can't, this age group, I don't want. God give me matured friends. It may even be someone younger than me, but I want someone mentally matured with some emotional intelligence and all that. Like I've reached up that breaking point of I don't want any stress around me. So it's a hard decision to make because people don't expect that from you. And you're going to get a lot of hate for it. You're going to get a lot of hate for it, but it's necessary.
So we've all seen the hilarious memes about the oldest daughter and how anxious she is and how she's on top of everything. That's actually a real problem. As a therapist who works with millennial and Gen Z clients, many of my millennial clients are becoming parents. And this behavior pattern, this behavior dynamic of the overachieving, over anxious worrying that we've developed as being the eldest daughters is showing up in their parenting. It shows up in their relationships, and it gives them this caretaker status that they don't actually really want. And it creates a lot of resentment in relationships, and people feel very unfulfilled in their lives. If this is you, I encourage you to think about behavior patterns that show up in your relationship that are keeping you unsatisfied. Think about how much you give to others, how you prioritize yourself, what your boundaries are, how often you say yes instead of saying no. Think about all of those things. It's important to recognize how you're showing up so you can actually break this generational cycle.
I'm the firstborn daughter, and I feel like I cannot win with my mom. I know it's somebody out there who can relate. She invalidates every experience that I have. She want to play the victim for everything that I say. I say all the healing work that I'm doing is because of my childhood trauma, and she says I had a worse childhood than you. When she didn't. She did not. She had a household with two parents. She had her mom and her dad her whole life, her sister and her brother. They went to the same schools all the time. They ate 3 meals every single day. She had some traumatic experiences, but nothing like me. My mom was the neighborhood crackhead. I've been in DCFS custody twice, molested by 2 family members, trying to figure out how to take care of my little sister. I can't win.
I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I co-raise my siblings, but my parents don't recognize it. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm type A perfectionist with a 5 a.m. morning routine. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I got in trouble for anything my siblings did, because we're a unit, not an individual. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm a chronic people pleaser. Count me in. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I became a chauffeur to my siblings when I got my license. Who else was gonna drive them? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm the mom in my friend group. Hey, are you okay? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I carried Mother's Day on my back. Who else was giving mom the perfect gift? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm the family therapist. Who else will they talk to? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm an overachiever who doesn't feel like I'm doing enough.
What does the Bible say about firstborn daughters? Ever noticed how firstborn girls carry a special grace? They have the heart of a mother and the mind of a leader. Let's explore why they're truly remarkable. Firstborn girls often grow up with a nurturing heart.
If your first child was a girl, it's because you needed to know it's time to do things differently. She's watching you. And if it was a boy, it means God knew it was time for you to be loved like no other, to show you what true love really is.
First daughters, in 2025, we are quiet quitting. Yes. You heard me correctly. We're quiet quitting. We're quiet quitting from saving people who do not want to be saved. We're quiet quitting from building up people who don't want to be built. We're quiet quitting from doing the work for people who don't want to do the work for themselves. We're quiet quitting from acting like we're invincible and trying to show up in every possible way for every possible person because nobody does it. You see those friends that you don't see for months on end? It's because they have lives. It's because they're going through things. It's because they can't. And sometimes you also cannot, okay? We're quite quitting from trying to be that person who constantly can and is constantly on and is constantly going, and then secretly resenting people because nobody's even asking you if you're okay. We're quite quitting. We are still showing up. We're still being good people. Listen, me personally, I don't know how to be a bad person. That's not my ministry. That's not my bag. What I don't want to do, what we're not going to be doing the most and then resenting people because they don't do the most back. Because no one's obligated to do the most. And the most that you're doing has not been asked for. And yes, will people notice that you're no longer doing the most? Of course. May people comment that you're no longer doing the most? Yes. But that's where communication comes in. We are going to communicate boundaries. We are going to communicate our needs. We're going to communicate when we need help. We're going to communicate when we need rest. We're going to communicate. That's where that comes in. We are going to communicate. We are no longer suffering in silence. We are suffering in 4K, okay? If we need help, we are saying we need help. If we don't have it, we're saying we don't have it. We're not doing the most. I'm tired of seeing you guys do the most. I'm tired of seeing us do the most, okay? Do you know what it is to have eye twitch 22 days into the new year? No, we're not doing it anymore. We are not. We're quite quitting. We're taking our standees. We're retiring. We're doing self-care nights. We're going for walks at lunch. We are booking pedicures for ourselves and nobody else. You're not coming with me. No, I'm not covering. No, I'm not. We're not doing it. Leave me alone, okay? Showing up for people who show up for us. We're pouring up into people who pour into us. Please, this is like a manifestation at this point because we're not doing the most anymore. We're doing what needs to be done. Okay, we're doing what needs to be done, and then if we have it, we might do some more. But if we don't have it, sorry. Sorry.
And I work like a dog, day and night, living off a coffee from a pot none of you want to touch.
Being the oldest daughter and then having my first child be the oldest daughter is like the weirdest experience on this planet. Every single day I wake up and guess what? I'm faced with a small version of myself. Oh, she's her own person, okay? I'm fully aware. But being an oldest daughter is such a distinct, unique life experience. Like you only get it if you were the oldest daughter. I remember all of the things that I dealt with as the oldest daughter growing up. And honestly, still to this day, you kind of fall into that like default parent role. My mom had me at 18. My siblings are 7 and 10 years younger than me. I was changing their diapers. I was mini mommy. Mom passed away when I was 20. My siblings were 13 and 10. I found myself yet again in this like mini mommy space. Like they're not my siblings, they're my babies, you know? But now I have my own baby. I have my own oldest daughter. Firstborn oldest daughter. And I'm trying so hard to reflect on the experiences that I had as the firstborn oldest daughter and ensure that she doesn't have the same negative experiences, because it wasn't all negative, but there was constantly a lot of pressure put on me. Constantly the responsible one, constantly the one that could do no wrong. And I see how that shaped who I am today. And while I think I turned out not half bad, I got a lot of stuff that I could work on that has come with the oldest daughter role. And this is stuff that I don't want my oldest daughter to experience. I feel like I'm extra cautious and extra attentive when it comes to the parenting decisions that I make with my oldest daughter. And it's this like protective instinct that I have. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's like constantly there and I'm just constantly hyper aware of this reality. Anyone else get that? Like, does that make sense? Like, are you an oldest daughter and is your first child a daughter? Because I feel like only that subset of people is going to understand what this feels like.
A lot of these eldest daughters or only daughters as adults chose not to have.
Eldest daughter here, first gen. Thank you for starting this conversation. Why don't you want to have kids? I've already had kids. They're called siblings. I already know what it's like to help someone with their homework. I already know what it's like to dress someone, put on their clothes in the morning. I already know what it's like to counsel and advice on where you're going to go to college, whether you should be in sports or not, how to navigate friendships, how to navigate breakups. I have siblings. I've already done all of these things. I've already had children. Why would I want to do that again just because they came from my own womb? Oh, well, you get to be there side by side when they go through some of the most important things in their lives. I already did with my brother and sister. I already did. Here are the important parts. When they transition from elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school, from high school to college, when they have their first girlfriend, when they get engaged, when they decide what college they're going to go to, when they have their first breakup, when they're starting to have sex, Been there already. I don't need to have my own kids to have these conversations. If you want to have kids because you want to have kids and you've always wanted to have kids, great. But if you're on the fence, or if you think that you want to have kids because everyone tells you that you're going to miss out on something, it's not that big of a deal. As an eldest daughter who has had pseudo children because they helped raise their siblings, it's not that big of a deal. Don't do it unless you will regret it every single day of your life, 100% of the time, if you don't. I have a child-free life by choice, and every day it just reinforces that it's the best decision that I've ever made.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you have an elder sister and she's bougie and she's a little kind of to herself, a little isolated from the family, just know she's been through the trenches. Just know she wasn't bougie growing up because she had to go without for so long that she said, nah, when I grow up, never again. I'm never suffering like this again. And then just know she's isolated because she had to hold down the fort for her whole life, that now she's taking back her peace, okay? So don't come for them eldest daughters, okay? We all in therapy.
As an ambassador for the rights of firstborn daughters, I am here to answer your question as to how we start accepting care, respect, and dignity in our relationships with either our partners or the people around us and new friends. I'm using this picture of Brittany from Love is Blind as an example, season 7, because I recently did a video about how for all the issues between her and Leo and whatever's going on with her, she came out of the gate with this understanding of, this is how I want to be treated in a relationship, this is what I want people to give me, and if they can't do that, I'm not in this relationship. And then a lot of us freaked out because we were like, oh my gosh, as a firstborn daughter, as a young Black girl, or just a young woman socialized in America, we are often taught that all these politics that have happened, all the things that our foremothers have done to give us liberty in economics and politics and society, we tend to just give those things up, and we're in relationships with people who think our time, our money, and our labor is an infinite resource. And then we're super uncomfortable when we are in relationships with people who want to give us things or take care of us. And that is not to say that you remove yourself from a position of political freedom or security where you just give up your right to do everything and you give up your ability to make your own money. But what is with this discomfort of being taken care of? Why do people, they're free to choose any kind of man they want, they're free to choose any kind of friends they want, they go with people that are secret haters? It actually doesn't start with them, it starts with us, it starts with you. I've talked a little bit about this before with Dr. Gilligan's research in Joining the Resistance, which is this look at how American young women are raised and socialized to see their worth and to see their sense of selves in what they can give to other people and what other people take from them. And if those people are happy, then the relationship's good. And she talked about the limitations of that, because this is not a mutual relationship. This isn't a relationship based off of, are the two parties, not saying everything has to be 50-50 all the time, but are the two parties aware of each other's dignity, aware of respecting each other, and both mutually giving things to each other, instead of someone coming into the relationship and seeing a Black woman, a firstborn daughter, or just a woman in general and going, you are a woman, you are a human giver, and you are going to make my life, you're going to be the stepping stone to my self-actualization, and your own self-actualization and what you like and what you want and yourself as a human are secondary. Some of us tend to think that, okay, I'm in a relationship that's not abusive and it's not bad, so, and we're in love, so it must be good, right? But again, this is the bare minimum, and it does start with us. If we as individuals do not believe that before we do a single thing, before we help, before we fix, before we come to the rescue, that just by breathing and being a human being, we are worthy of respect and we are worthy of care, and our individual likes, interests, dislikes are something that should be considered. If we can get that down, we can start to weed out people who don't move the same way or don't think the same way. That, of course, is easier said than done, because you're going up against decades of socialization. You're going up against being surrounded by women and people or other marginalized people who've been taught that safety and belonging, which is not true belonging, it's just acceptance, that's conditional, are based on forever giving. And when they see you even try to make a little attempt to say, I think I deserve more and I think I want to be treated a certain way, they will try to beat you down, because what you're doing is you're proving that we actually don't have to fall along this system. And then what was all this sacrifice for? Now, when you start to practice self-compassion and this sense of self-worth, you are not going to feel like it or believe it at first. And this is critical, because most psychologists will tell you that you kind of have to force these practices of respect and dignity on yourself, because again, you're not going to feel like it. You've not been socialized for it. You're not used to it. It's going to feel different. It's going to feel scary. You're going to feel selfish, and you have to push through that. The change in your brain is going to feel like a threat, and it's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose connection with everybody. No one's going to love me anymore, and I'm not going to belong. That's a lie. The only way you are going to prove to your brain and your body that this lie is not true is by taking little actions, realizing that the world doesn't fall around you, and then repeating that over and over again. So how do we start with that? This is going to sound laughably simple, but if you look at some of the forerunning Black feminists, and you look at people like Brene Brown, who have looked at research from recently, you find that the first way you signal to yourself that you're worth something is you are aware of what's going on. Just these little simple things like, do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you need water? Do you need to take a 15-minute nap? And maybe the whole world in the office won't fall apart if you request that. Those little things that the society's not going to look out for, people who look to take advantage of you, people who do not believe your body is worth anything. If you personally start taking those little steps to say, I'm going to preserve this line for myself, you start to signal something else to yourself. And you get comfortable asserting that. Some of you do not ask the person on the plane next to you to move so you could go to the bathroom, and you will nearly torture yourself for a whole flight because you can't ask. You don't think you're worth it. You think that their comfort and them not moving is more important than your discomfort. And this is not to say that like you're gonna follow into like a very racist, sexist hierarchy itself, and you're gonna put yourself on top just like people in the past have put yourself on top. No, you're going to think their comfort's important, and so is mine. And the first couple times, again, that's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel bad. But the more you do it, it will become your new normal. And then what happens is when you are interfacing with other people and they can't even respect that little bit for you, they can't even, help you get a cup of water or whatever, it becomes unattractive to you. It becomes something you don't want to be around. Another thing that I've talked about here before is that if you have a little interest in something, and it can be silly, especially if it's silly, especially if it has absolutely nothing to do with your productivity and how it helps other people. And if you just give yourself a little bit of space to lean into that. For example, I saw the Calico Critters at Barnes & Noble the other day, and I don't know what happened, but something in my little heart was like, oh, I like the Calico Critters. The Calico Critters they have nothing to do with work. They have nothing to do with advancing career, helping other people. They're little animals, but for some reason they're cute. I didn't go crazy, but I did let myself think about the Calico Critters. I let myself look up some of their storylines. I let myself relax a little bit. And with everything going on, with all sorts of stress, the fact that I just allowed myself to have 10, 15 minutes of just indulging and delighting in these creatures, because I believe my time and joy and happiness and just a sense of lightness in the midst of everything is important. I feel better. I feel good. I will tell you, a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I wouldn't have been able to do it because I hadn't practiced stopping, accepting, not judging where I was, what I was feeling. It's not saying you shoot from the hip and do whatever you feel like doing all the time, but I don't need to tell you that. You're a firstborn daughter. You don't do that anyways. The reason this is political and the reason why I talk about this here is that many people, they grow up, they become mothers, and they're just mothers. And their children, their partners, people around them, it's a wonderful job, wonderful vocation, one of the most important things in the world you could do. It's just that people will look at that and they'll be shocked that you had a Friday night out. They'll be shocked that you want to wear that dress with sequins. They'll be shocked that you took time off to go to a concert, or heaven forbid, you put the kids to bed early so you could watch a show with your partner. What all this is saying is, how are you anything other than a vessel for the needs of other people? And this is deeply, deeply rooted in the American understanding of what women, and what Black women especially, are for. We don't see them as full human beings. We see them as stepping stones to everybody else's story. And the only way you're going to be able to push back on other people's version of that story is if you yourself push back on the story that's internally in you. There is, of course, way more to speak on this, but your first homework is to look up Kristen Neff's self-compassion practices. And if that's like too weird for you, what you can do is you could say, I'm going to be aware of my actual body's needs today. And I'm just going to notice something. I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to go, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom again. Oh my gosh, I have to get water. No, you get to take care of the precious, beautiful body that you have today. And you get to practice showing it that it can be trusted with you. I will be answering some of your questions on this on the previous Love is Blind video I did. But if you want to talk about this more, especially as we get back into lives, the podcast, things like that, I also wrote an essay on this and how to not choose terrible men that ruin your lives. That is live now. Link is in bio. You can follow my Substack. But let me know. I want to know your thoughts. I would like for us to take the politics that we have been given and push them even further so we ourselves are not giving up everything we've been given because we don't believe we're worth it and we don't believe that our lives matter. If Black lives matter, if women's lives matter, we have to act like it on all sorts of small and large ways.